Federal agents used tear gas while taking a man into custody in Albany Park over the weekend. The Sun-Times reports it happened at the corner of Wilson and Sawyer yesterday afternoon. Dozens of people took to the streets. A recent court order requires agents to issue 2 warnings before using riot control weapons. Witnesses said they heard no warnings. The weekend incident comes after a pastor was pepperballed last week at an ICE protest in Broadview.
That pastor was David Black. He joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning, Pastor.
So, Pastor, take us back to that evening in Broadview. What made you decide to go that evening, and what was happening leading up to ahead of being pepperballed?
I felt called in that moment by the traditions of my faith to minister to those who were persecuting peaceful protesters and people who had gathered to pray, to sing songs of liberation, and to call for the release of our captive neighbors. So I stepped forward and I prayed for the ICE officers who were standing on that roof, and I called them to repentance in very traditional Christian language, inviting them to believe the good news and to enter an altar call to come and leave behind what they were doing. And as I was praying audibly to them, they opened fire on me and shot me twice in the head, another 5 times on the body at least. Parenthetically, the manufacturer of pepper balls says on page 4.1 of their safety manual that pepper balls shot at heads, necks, spines, and other sensitive areas can be deadly. And so I wonder about the training of these ICE agents, and I wonder about their intention.
DHS says that protesters were blocking federal vehicles. Did you happen to see that? Not that that excuses what we saw in that video, but what was your... were protesters blocking ICE vehicles and preventing federal officers from doing their jobs?
When I arrived, that was not happening. And you can see in the video where I was standing was not blocking any ICE vehicles. A few minutes later, ICE agents flooded into the street. I was disabled on the ground, being helped by medics. And there's a video that shows an ICE truck coming out at that moment. But instead of ordering us to disperse or giving us a warning, they shoved us down, slammed protesters into the concrete, and maced us with so much mace, so much chemicals, that I was drenched. My denim jacket, my jeans, my long underwear were drenched by the amount of chemical weapons that they were deploying against me and others. And I just want Chicagoans to be thinking about, if this is what they're doing to pastors and to journalists and to teachers and to mothers and to elders who are gathering to sing and to pray outside of this facility, what might they be doing to our neighbors who are behind those walls? And this is a moment for Chicago to come together in solidarity, and I'm so proud of the city and the way that it has showed up for a vision of a stronger city where all of our neighbors can live where they choose to belong in the safety that we provide for one another. This is a great city, and I'm so proud of the faith of the people that I stand shoulder to shoulder with.
There are some religious people, Christians, who are on the other side of this issue. When you talk to those people who would say, let immigrants come in, let them go through the proper process, what do you say to those people?
They have not reached out to me.
You have not had any, have you reached out to them?
Have I reached out to them? That's an interesting question. I have been called in this moment to proclaim the gospel, and I will continue to do that. I've received letters from people who are concerned about the way that I am ministering my faith, and I respond to them with deep compassion and thankfulness, because I believe that people operate on good faith and that people are genuinely concerned for what is happening to this nation and this city. And I want to engage with them in the mutuality and love that I believe need to be fundamental if we're going to rebuild the city after what this administration is doing to it.
So you're now suing the Trump administration, saying this was a violation on your freedom of speech. What are you hoping comes out of that legal action?
I am hoping that there will be a permanent boundary with an administration that is notorious for its failure to keep good boundaries. And as we saw in the news just now, they have already violated that order. And this is a moment for people of conscience in America to see what is happening and to gather around our neighbors in solidarity, because we must protect each other. And I'm so grateful, again, for all of the valor of Chicagoans who show up with $40 of protective gear against ICE agents and $50,000 of tactical gear and weapons, again, with nothing but prayers and chants, songs of liberation, and just Words of good conscience.
Pastor Black, we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, sir.